Mate, yeah, where are you? We're meant to be recording the pod now. We're keeping our guests waiting. No, no, you can't finish the game, mate. We've got work to do. I don't care how addictive the free demo of Nutmeg is. We've got a pod to record, a guest to welcome. Yes, Theo is waiting in his kitchen, hopefully. Yeah, I've sent you the link. No, not the link for the free Nutmeg demo. The link to our recording for this show. Jeez, working with such amateurs at the moment.
The big man with a big goal on the big occasion.
Sorry about that, listeners. Dan, where the flip were you?
Sorry, mate. Totally lost track of time. Hands up. It's bloody addictive, that free demo of Nutmeg, isn't it?
Anyway, welcome to Season 2, Episode 9 of You Are My Oxford, brought to you with our sponsors, Nutmeg, a new nostalgic football management game from Secret Mode, and it's coming out in 2026.
Matt, but with a free demo available right now. Addictive demo
Mate,
at that.
Very addictive by the sound thing. Yeah, we've got an amazing episode lined up for you. We reflect on 3 matches and a miserable return of 1 point, so that's not the amazing bit.
We are joined by a friend of the pod, Graham Dunn, who is here to join us to make a very, very unique OUFC 11 of players who've played for us but never scored for us.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be a great listen. Also, Theo's going to be joining us to give us some sort of data analysis. At the time of recording, he's given us absolutely no clue as to what this will be. We'll just have to hope he turns up and comes through with some very insightful data.
I hope he does as well, because he's also going to be playing the Jon Narbett game, which we're going to give another go to, hopefully with slightly more success this time around. I cannot believe how bad the Narb was at the game named in his honour.
So bad that we have to name the game after him, really, after that. Yeah, all that to come. It's going to be a cracker, but let's start, I guess, by chatting about some actual football.
Do we have to, Matt? Do we have to? Matt, we've had 3 games since the last pod and 1 measly point. That is not a great return, is it?
Not great, isn't it? I mean, where do we start? I mean, I've got a few things that are just kind of rattling around my brain, and the kind of the first thing is we just look so inconsistent. You don't know which kind of Oxford is going to turn up. I think, the game against Derby was so great, and then since then it's all kind of gone to pot, hasn't it? While Derby have somehow won 4 games in a row, which I just completely don't get. I think there's a few things that are worrying me. The winger combinations never quite work, do they? It's like we give faith to a winger and go, right, this is your chance to run and to make that position your own, and then they kind of flop. I think I'll go back to the comment I made a few weeks ago. If we could just mould our 5 wingers into one player, we'd have the perfect player, but we can't do that. I'm also just starting to get a little worried about our summer signings, and I'll just run through them very quickly. DBK, obviously flashes of brilliance, can't take that away from him. I just worry he goes hiding slightly in games when things aren't going right. Krastev, is he any good? I still don't know. I really don't know. Again, flashes of brilliance, but is he going to come good? I hope so. Prelic, just a bit stop-start, and when he's played well this season, he's been incredible. And then Brodie Spencer, excellent, but he's bloody injured, isn't he? So there's a few things that are starting to worry me. Why haven't we seen Luke Harris more? Is something that I just can't fully understand, and I'm just wondering if it's time to bring Tyler back in from the cold. So just a few thought starters there, really, Dan. After 1 point from a possible 9,
I think the absence of Brodie Spencer at the minute is a big issue. Like, we seem to be being attacked down that side quite a lot, and we all know that Sam Long's a terrific servant at the club and he's very reliable, but Brodie is just a step up. He's been probably my player of the season so far, and I think so many goals have come from wide positions against us that I think not having him in the team is a real worry, and it sounds like he's going to be out for a while with quite a freak injury by the sounds of it. Was it a split toe or something?
Ooh, whenever anyone says split toe, it makes me go, it's a bit worrying, isn't it? And doesn't look like he's going to be back like soon. So I agree. He was an absolute step up kind of Rolls Royce footballer, very energetic. So yeah, big miss.
I think there's something else happening as well, Matt, which I think is slight second season syndrome, right? And we've kind of mentioned it before in the pod, but I think generally it is affecting everyone. Like the crowd yesterday, they sounded good, but I've seen the pictures and it was definitely down on what we took last year. I think, so I think the fans, I didn't go yesterday. I went to watch my local team, Haringey Borough, instead, whereas last year I did go. And I just think it's a little bit of, it is this kind of sense that we know this season's going to be a struggle. Last year, it was really exciting to have the struggle. This year, it's like, do I go West Brom again? I felt pretty confident we were going to lose yesterday. And I wonder if that kind of whole thing is affecting the players as well. They don't seem quite as up for it as they did last year. Last year, I have no statistical evidence of this at all, but last year it seemed like if we got a lead, we were more desperate to kind of hang on to it. Whereas this year, I just wasn't surprised when I heard West Brom equalise and then go on the score shortly after. So I think it is like a slight second season syndrome.
I agree with a lot of what you said, and that kind of inconsistency thing kind of plays into that as well. Like we've upgraded on a few players, but I'm not sure yet whether they're as good as I had hoped. Dan, pleased to hear you went to see Haringey play though, and at least they play in yellow and blue. Did they win?
They do. Good knowledge. Very good knowledge, Matt. They did win. They won 3-1. They've dropped down over the past couple of seasons. I think they've been relegated 3 seasons in a row, but they've now kind of reached a peak. Or what's the opposite of a peak? A trough. But they are slowly climbing back up. They won yesterday. Delighted to say. It's a lovely little ground, lovely little club. Very, very friendly. Very kind of community spirited and real kind of representation of the local area. So I do enjoy going to watch them. And Matt, free season tickets there. Free season.
No, I could do with that. It's not cheap, this footballing lark in the Championship, is it? Should we speak about, just very quickly, about probably the best team we've seen in the Championship so far?
Stoke were bloody amazing. We sat next to each other in the game and we were both like, bloody hell, they're good. When they attacked so quickly and so fast. And I was thinking, this is Stoke. Stoke, all my life, Stoke have been the kind of big, ugly, stodgy team full of kind of big fellas and, hump it forward and like big man and long throws. They were the opposite. They were absolutely, I think that possibly the best team I've seen in the Championship.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, they were still big, but they were so direct, so incisive. When they were attacking to us, like they had like 4 players running in different directions, like, and our centre backs didn't know which way to look. I mean, very, very direct, but yeah, very effective. Very effective. They were good.
Mark Robbins, their manager, his record against us is obscene. I am absolutely sick of him. But if he ever comes available when we're looking at someone, he's just like, his teams are absolutely amazing. Matt, Millwall.
Millwall. I predicted a point in that one, didn't I? So never really in doubt. I always knew, right going into the, final seconds of the game, I knew that we were going to come away with a draw.
You liar. You did not know that at all, but how lovely it was to sneak a point. I really thought we were going to kick on from there. I really did. And we haven't. If anything, I don't know. It's we've got worse since that moment. Matt, you must have enjoyed the game though. You were there, I presume.
What's that?
You were there at Millwall.
I might have missed that one, Dan, and you know well why I missed it. I was actually given a ticket to England v Australia at Twickenham. Bit of egg chasing. Different atmosphere, experience to the Kassam. Not gonna lie, but it was lovely. One lovely little tale that I just need to tell you. So, leaving Twickenham, going to the station. If anyone's ever been, there's a huge queue to the station, and I managed to listening to the final few minutes of the Oxford v Millwall game. Obviously, could tell it was very tense, quiet in the queue, and then Shemi scored, and I just leapt up, massive screen, dancing around in this queue. everyone was like, "Are you all right, mate?" And I was like, "Yeah, Shemi's just scored an equaliser." And everyone looked at me like I was an absolute loon, but a great moment. Will I be going back to the rugby? Probably not. I think Adela Kassam tops a afternoon at Twickenham. But there we go.
I think red trousers and a barber jacket would suit you, actually. You know?
I can tell. I can report back. There's still a lot of that at the rugby.
We're coming up to the international break now, Matt. How are you feeling? I guess the international break, if I was a manager whose team are on a bit of a dodgy run at the moment, I'd be looking over my shoulder. There's lots of angry people not on our social media, only happy people join our social media, but on social media generally, lots of people seem very angry and are demanding change. Likely to happen, do you think, Matt?
I mean, well, I'm looking at the date today, obviously 9th of November. November is the time when clubs tend to change manager. When were we last year? Were we November or early December? Probably early December, was it?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's around this time, isn't it? It's this international break, or then if you come back and lose a game or two, it's knowing that you can make that change before then you have that, big run of games over Christmas. I think there's a few things I'm a bit worried about. I look at the table, and obviously we hope Sheffield Wednesday are kind of gone, so that's that's working in our favour. But you look at the teams around us. Norwich, well, we know what's just happened there. They're going to get a new manager bounce, aren't they? Sheffield United, you presume, are only going to get better. So we need to hope that a Pompey or a Blackburn are kind of worse than us between now and the end of the season. I'll go back to them again. Derby County, how they are knocking on the playoffs now. I honestly have no idea. I honestly think they're the worst side I've seen at the Kassam in a long time. So, yeah. So that's how I'm feeling, Dan. What about you?
I think this is leading me, Matt, into the return of the hot take segment, which we used to do. I think it might be unpopular what I'm about to say, but I want to say it. Run that hot take sting. Okay, Matt, listening to the Radio Oxford phone-in after the Stoke game, people demanding 4 or 5 new signings in the next transfer window. Now, that really pisses me off, right? Even ignoring how difficult it is to find available players of any kind of sort of quality in January, the cost is totally and utterly insane. Now, listen to this, right? I'm just going to do some basic maths in my head here. Let's say optimistically, and this is optimistically, players at our level are on about 10 grand a week. I reckon they're probably on a bit more than that. But that's over $500,000 a year, not including signing on fees, agents' fees, transfer fees. All right. So 4 new players, Matt, is going to cost us an extra £2 or £3 million a year at a bare minimum. And not just for this season, but possibly for 2 or 3 seasons, depending on the length of their contracts. If we get relegated, these aren't assets, they're liabilities, right? They're hanging around our neck. Okay. The current TV deal, Matt, is worth £10 million a year. So if we sign 4 new players in January, as this guy wants, Barry from Bicester or whatever his name was, if he wants us to sign these players, that's a third to a quarter of all our TV money for the season just gone, right? And for seasons to come. Now, I know we have other sources of revenue, tickets, sponsorship, pitchside advertising, including, I noticed, our sponsor, Secret Mode Games. I noticed they're doing
hashtag Nutmeg.
Hashtag Nutmeg. We currently have, Matt, 35, count them, 35 on our books, right? That's including the 8 who are currently out on loan, but we're going to be subsidising their wages. Right. So let's say they're like, the club who've taken them on paying half. We're still paying at least £250,000 a year each to have these players, like, not even playing for us. Now, people are going to say, oh, we can sell some players in January. But who, Matt? Who is going to be signing a player who can't get into our team? Right. The only teams that could are going to be League One teams, but they won't be able to afford the wages. Right. So we can loan them out. We can't sell them. We can loan them out, which is what happened with all the players who are out on loan at the moment. But we're still going to be paying half of their wages, which let's just say is $250,000 a year that we're paying them. The only players we probably could sell are the ones that we want to keep. Now, Matt, as I get older, and I'm, despite my youthful good looks, as the YouTube watchers will testify, as I get older, Matt, and they get more kind of, I don't know, wise or maybe just burdened by life's problems like mortgages and that kind of stuff. I really worry about where the hell this is going to end up. And I know we've got rich owners, but so did Sheffield Wednesday and so did Reading, and every other basket case club out there at some point had rich owners. Now, I'm really worried that when if the rich owner gets bored, then what? We are stuck with these players who can't get in our team, who we can't sell, who are on big money. We haven't got a ground that we own. We've got a lease that's about to expire. We've got a £150 million building project to complete and builders to pay. So yes, I would love, Matt, a striker in January who can guarantee us 20 goals by the end of May. But I don't think we're going to get that. We're going to end up with another Bradshaw or someone else taking £250,000 a year and not getting a sniff of any first team action, and we're stuck with them for a further 2 or 3 seasons. And honestly, Matt, I know this has been a rant and a half. Honestly, in that case, I'd rather give Gatlin the Donker a go. And I know this is unpopular because, we wish we can sign players, we can stay up. But I just worry, Matt. I really worry. Barry from Bisto, I don't know if that was you that did that silly call into the Radio Oxford show, but we cannot afford 4 or 5 new players. We've got a squad of 35 pros. Matt, I've been talking for way too long. Tell me what you think.
Dan, that is, I mean, that was a rant. That was a rant. But you do make some very valid points. I mean, the case of Bradshaw's one of those. Like you say, I want a 20 goal a season striker, but unfortunately,
we're not going to get one.
We're not going to get one.
What magic went up?
I mean, has Bradshaw even scored a goal for us apart from pre-season?
No. Well, we'll find out shortly.
Won't we? But I know it's a tricky one, isn't it? It is a tricky one.
I don't want to sound like I'm having to go at Bradshaw because, it's not his fault that we signed him.
Seems like a nice guy.
Seems like a lovely guy. Very happy. Guy. Very handsome man. Incredibly handsome man.
Handsome. Seems to be enjoying Oxfordshire. Hasn't scored a lot of goals.
We panicked. We're like, we've got to get a striker, and he's cost us probably £1.5 million by the time he leaves us.
I think we've spoken about it before, haven't we, on this pod, that it seems like we're on the cusp of becoming one of those sides, if you know what I mean, that kind of churn, repeat, splash money at something, and if it doesn't work out. But to your point, have we got the revenue to become one of those clubs? I'm not sure we have. And to your point again, yes, we've got rich owners, but it doesn't take long for them to become bored, as it happened at those 2 clubs that you mentioned. So, of course, there's a worry. And I think there's a lot of Oxford fans who kind of are happy just to bury their head in the sands and just hope that we, now that we're a championship side, we can just splash the cash on anyone. I'm also really interested, Dan, and I'm not sure if there's any truth to this or not. But like on X and on social media, you see these league tables of clubs' wages, and we're always about mid-table or 7th or 8th. Now, I'm like, surely that can't be right, but maybe it is. And if it is, then we should be very worried. And if that is right, I want to see a lot more from the players if we're giving them that much, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. It could be absolute rubbish. It could be just AI-generated nonsense. It probably is, but definitely something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe those things because, I mean, there's no evidence ever for it. It's just kind of some guy in the know. But yeah, I'm worried. I am genuinely worried. And I apologise, listeners, if you've come expecting Jon Narbett telling good jokes about Paul Rees and stuff, and you've had to put up with my rant. But, yeah, just food for thought anyway. Oh, Matt, I feel like that was a little bit of an outburst there. I've got to say, it must be really difficult being a football manager or being a director of football and trying to balance up all of these things.
I've got an idea. Maybe we should get some practice by playing Nutmeg. Now, if you've not heard of Nutmeg, Dan, it's a nostalgic football game where you get to build a team of players from the 1980s.
And 90s, actually. And 90s as well. It sounds like a whole lot of fun.
Dan, talking of building a fantasy team, why don't you tell us what you've been up to this week?
Yeah, you weren't available for this, sadly, doing your busy lifestyle, whatever, probably down at Twickenham or something, I don't know. But I met with a good friend of the pod, Graham Dunn, who is from the By Far the Greatest Team podcast, which is a terrific listen. And we built a rather unique Oxford United 11, a team full of players who've played for Oxford but never scored. And there's one name that's going to pop up that we've already mentioned in this pod.
Oh, mate, this sounds good. Let's give it a listen and a watch.
Graham Dunn, co-host of By Far the Greatest Team podcast. Welcome back. Thank you again for moonlighting with us. What have you been up to recently?
Well, yeah, no, it's been nice to be here. We just done our 100th episode, so we've been trying to think of which once you think of the amount of time that we spend rabbiting on, it's quite a big section of your life.
It is 100 episodes. Congratulations, that's quite an achievement. Listeners, if you haven't listened to By Far the Greatest Team podcast, please do so. It's an excellent listen. Can you explain how we came up with this idea for doing a non-scoring Oxford United 11?
Yeah, I did a piece. I wrote a blog for the Ox Blogger newsletter, always a good read, and the newsletter rather than my pieces, obviously. And I was just struck by how many goal-scoring defenders Oxford had at them. I mean, Hellick had just scored all those goals. Greg Lee was like a top scorer, and suddenly I thought, oh, do you remember the days when our defenders didn't score? So I did a piece around that, and I did a bit of light kind of research, and then I think this sort of got your brain thinking a little bit about, oh, hang on, this is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
I'm always fascinated by players who simply fail to score, because it's the whole point of football, right? It's to stick the ball in, and if you're not doing, what's the point of playing football? I found it actually surprisingly difficult, though, because there were so many players who thought, oh, they never scored. And then you discover they got one in, like, the Anglo-Italian Cup or, the JPT or something. So there are quite a few who are disqualified by scoring, 1 or 2 goals. So this is not a crap players who didn't score many goals. This is an 11 of players who scored absolutely none. We've done our research as much as our busy lives will allow, and I'm sure there are some players that we've missed out. But what we have done here is got a definitive 11 of players who definitely didn't score for Oxford. And I think we've also tried to be faithful to their actual positions, and we've come up with a very modern 4-4-1-1. Graham, let's start at right back. An easy choice, I think.
This was so simple. So Oxford, of course, have this reputation of amazing goal scoring and attacking right backs, but one of those isn't Gary Smart. Now, in his defence, Gary Smart was meant to be a defender. Oxford had just got relegated from the top flight. I think they conceded 80 goals in 40 games. So they knew they needed to tighten the defence up. But fair play to Gary Smart. His commitment to doing that was impressive. Over 200 games for Oxford. In a position where you do get forward, it's difficult to imagine the ball not coming to you or you not having a desperate shot. And I don't remember him even shooting. I don't remember him crossing. I know this must be faded out in the back of my mind. But yeah, Gary Smart, who'd come to us from non-league, he played at Wokingham. It was the sort of thing that happened back in the day where players would almost emerge from nowhere. And actually play at quite a decent level. You can't really imagine someone going from conference to mid to top of the championship as it would have been then. But yeah, really quite something. And he was obviously good, appreciated enough. Brian Horton obviously appreciated him enough. He stayed for the whole period. Was even wearing this shirt. This is a Gary Smart era shirt, I think, in his first season. But yeah, what a player.
Gary Smart was he was also famous for, there was a long-running bet called the Gary Smart wager, and I can't remember which fan it was, but they bet on him to score every single game, and it rolled over, and obviously he never actually won on that bet, so
never close.
A lot of money wasted. At left back, I can actually beat that. I can beat Gary Smart. The obvious choice, first of all, I thought, okay, who's played left back recently, hasn't scored? And Joe Scars with 100+ appearances and no goals featured. But I thought there must be someone more because, as you said, in the old days, fullbacks weren't very attacking. I went through the records and I found, with a whopping 305 appearances, Pat Quartermain. who was in the team that came into the Football League in the 60s.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to hand it to you there that I didn't think anyone could top Jake Wright, and 300 games from left back. You know, you're not going to get a lot of goals there, but you know there must be some opportunities to get forward, and also what I admire that, you know, played that whole career at Oxford, but as becomes a theme in this, the moment he joins someone else, he does score, doesn't he?
He did. He played literally a handful of games at the very end of his career for Cambridge United and managed to score. So, yeah, well done, Pat. I'm not much of a footballer, Graham, but, you know, I played a bit, you know, Saturday League stuff. And my wife would ask me literally after every game, "Oh, how did you get on? Did you score?" And I've got this image of Mrs. Quartermain at home, you know, asking for the first couple of seasons, "Oh, how'd you get on, Pat? Did you score today?" And then obviously giving up.
There must be, and you know, nice opportunity to see your name in the papers, albeit, you know, it's kind of this is. I mean, lots of people would have no idea that he'd ever played.
There is. I mean, for those who actually want to see him in action, if you go onto YouTube, and I might try and edit it in, but there's always copyright issues with Pathé stuff. But in the 1964 game against Blackburn, he's in it and he sets up a goal from left back, kind of marauding forward. So, I mean, it's a very famous game. It's amazing seeing the Manor Ground with 20,000 people in it. They've erected all sorts of scaffolding stands. And he charges forward from left back and he sets up the third goal. So if you want to see our non-scoring Pat Quartermain in action, that's how you do it.
I also saw there was there's a bit of a resemblance between Gary Smart and Pat Quartermain as well. I think they're not. The pictures I had of both weren't fantastic, but there is a hint of Gary Smart in Quartermain, I think.
I'm going to edit on some pictures of them, so listeners, viewers on YouTube, you can compare what the two non-scoring fullbacks look like. Graham, a centre-back, please.
Well, there can only be one. They're real, and I'd make the case for him being the captain of this team because he is our captain. Jake Wright, 279 games plus 2 as a sub without scoring. I think it's incredible for a centre back. Not there to be no circumstances where a centre back gets a goal. I mean, goalkeepers go up in the last 5 minutes of matches these days. Jake Wright. It's not like Jake Wright was a Mickey Lewis style centre back where there'd be no point in him going up to try and win a header. I mean, he had some height. He must be able to get on the end of stuff. But no. And what makes it brilliant, I think, the Jake Wright story is his absolute commitment to doing this. Even, makes Gary Smart look, no, this is hold my pint, Gary, because he actually. He scores 2 goals in his first full season for Halifax, and at that point he's probably thinking, I'll probably get a couple every season, classic centre-back action. And he then proceeds to not score again, not only for us, but everyone else he plays for. And it's
he didn't even score for Sheffield United. He didn't. No goals.
Didn't score. No goals for them. No goals when he has a spell at Crawley. I think he's at Crawley for a year or season or so. No goals there. So he basically goes the 460 games without scoring, or at least 460 games. It's really quite impressive. And when you think that, even Phil Whelan scored 2 for Oxford, centre backs must be able to score.
I almost saw him score. I saw him almost score once at Yeovil away in the promotion season. Shea Dunkley had a chance to score, but instead nodded it back across to Jake Wright, who was literally in front of the goal. And I think he was taken by surprise at the fact that Shea Dunkley had knocked it back to him, and he kind of just, I don't know, can you spoon a header? I don't know, but just like totally fluffed his header from about 2 yards out. The closest he got, I think. I had a bit of a dig around trying to find a good centre-back to pair with the iconic Jake Wright. I I found a couple. I mean, they're nowhere near as committed to non-scoring. The first one I found was Wayne Hatswell, who played 50-odd games with us without scoring. Ironic, because he, of course, is famous for scoring one of the funniest own goals of all time at Forest Green Rovers.
It is superb.
But his record is beaten by Mark Watson, the Canadian, who was a brilliant central defender for us in some pretty dark seasons. He played 69 games without rippling the onion bag. Any thoughts? Remember either of those two?
Mark Watson was a brilliant player, really, really graceful. And I used to love Mark Watson. Probably a bit like Jake Wright. I think the only thing that, because they both had a bit of pace, I suspect they had to hang back at corners, maybe. And Wayne Hatswell, I mean, he's somebody who scores everywhere else. Every 15th game he scores. And that's excluding own goals.
So shall we go then for Mark Watson, whose total dedication to not scoring is real?
Yeah, I think
right, Graham, let's go into the midfield. You go first. Pick me a midfielder. I'm imagining this is going to be a stodgy midfield.
Yeah, there's not too much flair in this. Danny Bullman, who is a great player and a great. He's a defensive midfielder. This midfield's going to be littered with hardworking defensive midfielders, definitely. But he plays 60 games, virtually all starts with no goals. What's extra impressive is, again, He does score goals elsewhere. He's not prolific, but he's got 40-odd goals in his career. And he's doing this in a promotion-winning conference side. This isn't a rubbish team that's not creating. This is a team that finishes in third, I think, that year. So, yeah, what a commitment from Danny Bullman, I reckon.
Can I line up alongside him a name I've tried quite hard to forget? Do you remember Jamie Hansen, who was signed with such excitement by Carl Robinson, and Carl Robinson started throwing him under the bus quite soon after that?
Yes.
I cannot believe he's played 86 games for us, because I cannot remember a single thing that he did for us. I can believe he scored no goals, and he did in fact score no goals.
I remember quite early on, one of his early games, I think there was a pretty catastrophic back pass that went wrong, and or loose pass as he's playing it back. And straight away, especially if you're going to be that holding player who kind of ticks it about a bit, and once they can't be trusted, it's kind of it all goes wrong. And he sort of never recovered. And of course, he was on about a 20-year contract, from what I could tell. He was there for ages.
Was he not a record signing for a little bit as well?
I think he was, yeah. So that added to the thing, and like I said, I don't really remember him coming close to, and it ultimately his lack of goal scoring was shown by them. I think Carl Robinson moved him back into the Gary Smart position and Gary Smart role at right back at one stage.
Graham, who's next?
Well, he's probably not famous for his spell here, but Steve McLaren, of all people, former England manager, and he came to us around the Gary Smart era, as I call it, under Brian Horton in '89. He was pretty much injured, I think, for the whole time he was with us. He plays 33 games and one sub appearance, and but it's over sort of a couple of years. He's just never really fit. And I mean, in the same way as you with Jamie Hansen, I can't really remember him doing anything on the pitch.
Okay, I'm adding now a rare bit of flair into this midfield. And this is a player who I was genuinely surprised didn't score for us, because I just assumed he did. He was a good player. I'm going for Herbie Kane in our midfield, who had 37 games and no goals. I'm really surprised, because he was a kind of flary player. He had some skills. I just assumed he scored for us, but he didn't.
You would definitely think so. You would think he might take free kicks or something like that. He certainly scored for everyone else. His propensity to score for everyone else but Oxford once every 8 games. So this is a guy who scores pretty regularly. He scored, I think it's 27 goals in 260 games. He should be scoring in 36, 37, how many games it was for us.
4.5 goals by that reckoning. We talked about half goals in a previous episode. Graham, you've got the striker. I've got the number 10. I suppose I should go first then, because
yes, I think so, for formation's sake.
I am going to pick a man who is, like yourself, an honorary friend of the podcast. And like yourself, he's a man who's never scored for the Mighty Yellows. I give you, floating around ineffectively on the edge of the box, Jon, and I've looked up his middle name, Jon Narbett. Not many games, to be fair to him. 17 in all, no goals. There are a few midfielders who played a bit more, but I just thought, we're almost contractually obliged to mention Jon Narbett now. So he's in. Jon Narbett is in there in the number 10.
I think so. I mean, you have to crowbar a mention of Jon Narbett in one way or the other in this podcast, and to be fair, it's not even much of a crowbar because he was there, and he did have a kind of a reputation for scoring goals. He was a sort of goal scoring attacking midfielder, I think, from my memory of it. So yeah, I think he's absolutely worth his place there.
Very happy to have him in. Friend of the pod. Great listen in the last episode if you haven't listened yet.
Yeah,
very, very
it's well
cool,
worth
man.
listening to.
You're welcome. Anytime, Graham. Okay, finish this dream team for us. Who is coming in at the number 9?
Yeah, well, we're bringing things bang up to date, and we're taking a risk because there's a wonderful possibility that he might ruin this by actually scoring on Saturday by the time this one goes out. But as you said, the chances of that happening are probably not very high. We are going for Tom Bradshaw. Now, he hasn't played a lot of games. In fact, and he's had even less chances. In fact, I don't even really remember him having a chance.
One at Stoke last season.
That's right. Bradshaw's job has mostly been to sort of come on in the last 10 minutes and just speed around and chase around everyone as a general rule. So it feels harsh to put him in, but no goals, current player. And again, if you look at his, this is a guy who's scored everywhere he's gone. He scores once every. So the ratio is he scores once in every 4 games. So even allowing for having only played 5 games, he should have scored by now. We are being shortchanged.
And I mean, I'm always loath to add substitute appearances in, but he has made 12, 13 appearances as sub. So that's 17 times on the pitch.
Yeah.
No goals. And I genuinely searched around and I couldn't find any other strikers who have that number of appearances without scoring. Malaki Napa, who wasn't a striker and was a kid, so I feel really bad putting him in, but he made 18 appearances, mostly as a sub, without scoring. But I think we have to go Bradshaw because he is a striker. He's come with a big reputation and he hasn't delivered.
Exactly.
So we haven't got a goalkeeper yet. Now, the logical choice would be Roy Burton with over 400 games in goal for Oxford and no goals. We don't do sensible here at You Are My Oxford. Graham, I put it to you, in this team, I want the goalkeeper to be the top scorer. So I've searched for our records. I cannot find evidence of an Oxford United goalkeeper ever scoring. So with that in mind, I'm going wild card and I'm choosing a goalie who's never actually played for Oxford, but has scored against Oxford. I propose to you former Hull City goalkeeper and makeshift striker, Alan Fettis, because I actually saw him score against us. Any thoughts on that?
Alan Fettis is absolutely something special, I have to say, because it's not just that he scores against us, he scores against us as an outfield player. And I cannot believe you were at this game. It is. I was thinking about this a few months ago, so it came up and I thought, did that actually happen? And I thought it felt like a fever dream, but you can confirm it did happen.
It did happen. So funnily enough, I was actually living in Hull at the time. I talked about this story on a previous podcast, but yeah, I was living in Hull at the time, and when he came onto the pitch as an outfield player, they were ravaged by injuries, Hull City at the time, and they genuinely had no one else, so they brought him on, and he was told basically just to run around a bit and cause a bit of nuisance, and he came on, and I didn't realise I knew who Alan Fettis was because I didn't realise he was the guy coming on the pitch. So there's a huge cheer when he came on, and then literally about 4 or 5 minutes later, the cross comes in from the left, and he slides in at the near post and sticks it into the top corner. And obviously, the whole stadium goes absolutely berserk. I was thinking, that's the goal that's won the game. But I hadn't seen that level of celebration before. And yeah, Alan Fettis.
And he scores. He scores past Matt Elliott, who's centre back, and Phil Whitehead in goal. So, it's not like he's crept in past some slightly leaky defence. This is like probably the best central defender I've ever seen us have.
And any thoughts on Fettis? Are you happy to have Fettis in goal, or have you got?
Yeah, I'm sort of happy with Fettis. There are a couple of sort of other options. He's not the only goalkeeper to have scored against us. So Roger Freestone had a spell as, I love teams that do this, as Swansea City's penalty taker.
Same season that Fettis scored.
Two goalkeepers
scored against us.
That's a thing of genius. How many? That must be one of Oxford's claim to fame. Which club has had two goalkeepers score against you the same season? The only thought I could have of an Oxford keeper scoring was Paul Pornstar London in a penalty shootout against. And it was but it almost doesn't count because I think it was in the Autoglass Trophy against Wickham. And there's a great bit where London saves the penalty. I think he saves the penalty, turns around casually, then is heading back to the centre circle, takes his gloves off and gives a look towards the crowd, say, "Who, me?" and then whacks it in fairness. Unlike Billy Turley, but there you go.
Good remembering of the penalty, though. I had forgotten that. So let's recap the team. We've got Fettis, Smart, Quartermain, Wright, Watson, McLaren, Bullman, Hanson, Kane, Narbett, and Bradshaw. That isn't on paper a dreadful 11.
No, it's actually a decent side, and it's a side you'd look at and you'd think, "Oh, they've got a few goals in them,"
but they haven't. They haven't at all. I mean, what would that team look like in real life? Would it be lots of possession but totally shot shy? How many games do you think they'd have to play together before they scored a goal? And who would get it?
It would have to be Fettis, wouldn't it? I do like to think that Fettis would just get, lads, you're just not going to do it. Let's swap over. Poor Jon Narbett gets called back into nets. You did the last 10 minutes. I'm going to go. I'll be the 10.
Graham, as you know, we are sponsored by Nutmeg, the nostalgic football game in which you get to pick players from the 80s and 90s to build a dream team. So, of our 11, only Fettis, Smart, Watson, McLaren and Narbett will qualify for that. You have to pick one of them for your Oxford United dream team. Who would it be? Fettis, Smart, Watson, McLaren or Narbett?
Well, obviously... I feel you'll find a way to get Narbett in one way or the other. So I feel that would be a wasted vote in it. I had to say in my dream team, I would be looking. I think he's so underrated for his time. He played for us at a really sort of horrible period. I just think Mark Watson is someone who totally goes under the radar. I would love to have him in the side.
Graham, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolutely huge amount of fun remembering these wonderful players from our past. Would you like to remind listeners about your podcast, which I have to say I'm a huge fan of?
Thank you so much. Yes, by far the greatest team. We go through some... it's basically a bit of nostalgia where we go through and rank great teams of the past. Some of them are actually great. A lot of them aren't. Next up, we're doing Bournemouth and their 1983 FA Cup winning side over Man United. So you can gauge the level of greatness. It comes at a slightly strange angle of stuff, but it's been lots of fun.
Wow, Dan, I have to say 111, that is.
Yeah, we recorded that on Friday, and I spent yesterday worrying a little bit what would happen if Bradshaw did actually score us against West Brom. But listener, as I'm sure you're aware, that didn't happen at all.
It was probably never going to happen, was it? What did happen, though, is we picked up just 1 point from our last 3 games, as we mentioned already. But What's the story behind the headline? I know one man who can tell us. That man is Theo. He joins us from his stat sort of kitchen. So, Theo, what's the story behind the headline?
Yeah, it was a tough week, wasn't it? And I think you can sort of, as you probably have, you can dress it up in a few ways, with Millwall being a good point and Stoke beaten by the better team. Yesterday is the one that I think I found the most frustrating of the three, even though we nearly sort of did a job on them in some ways. But I think we allowed a not very good West Brom team. We almost respected them too much. We gave them too much space. And I'm going to pull out West Brom's expected goals from their last 5 games to try and highlight this. 0.8 expected goals against Watford, 0.4 against Ipswich, 1.1 against Sheffield Wednesday, 1.3 away at Charlton. And yesterday we allowed them 1.5 expected goals from 25 shots at goal. And that is their highest by quite some distance that they've been able to achieve this season. And it's just sort of frustrating. Feels like we as I say, we respected them too much and we gave them too much time and space. One thing that is definitely changed over the last week is our fullbacks, and we love Greg Lee on this show, and obviously Sam Long's an absolute Oxford United hero, but there are some stats where we're seeing drop-offs between the kind of first choice fullbacks, if you like, and the two that have been playing yesterday. One in particular, I think it's interesting, and it relates nicely to not nicely, horribly to West Brom's first goal, is that both Curry and Brody Spencer seem they engage with the attackers more often in a game. They're getting involved in more duels, and I think Greg Lee and Sam Long in particular in that first goal may be slightly culpable for backing off too much and not getting their foot in.
So is that an actual? Is that a stat? What's XT? X tackles or something? Or
well, it's not expected. It's a hard number because you can pick out how many times they've done it, but Brody Spencer is a really good example here. He wins on average for 90 minutes 7.5 duels in a game. So it's a really good engagement rate. It puts him in the top 15% of right backs in the division for winning their battles. Sam Long's defensive statistics are also strong in terms of the percentages of the tackles that he wins, but he's doing 2.5 less per game. And I think that first goal yesterday is an example when maybe he could have just been a bit more confident with engaging with the player rather than backing off and allowing them to slip it in behind us and eventually score the goal.
I've just had a thought. Do you think it's time to give Kieran Brown another little go at left back and put Davis alongside Hellick?
The other thing that I wasn't going to mention, but has come out of the comparison between the fullbacks is Jack Curry's passing statistics are pretty good. Makes him one of the better ones in the division. Greg Lee's are amongst the poorest. And I think if we went back to a Brown left back approach, the impact on us being able to just get out without just launching it long might be a bit troublesome for us.
Theo, before you go, we wonder if you have time to play a game with us, the Jon Narbett game.
Love to. Let's do it.
The Jon Narbett game with Nutmeg.
Wow, that was something else, Dan. Seriously, that's different level. Did you get like Sky Sports to produce that or something?
I went a little bit wild with my editing software. Okay, we remember the rules. I'll just give the audience a little recap. Firstly, I'm going to choose a season at random, and you will take it in turns to name players who played for Oxford United that season. Okay, I am going to pick the 1998-99 season. Just to give you a little reminder, let me get you a visual reminder. It was this shirt. Audio listeners, this is the New Balance Unipart shirt. It is the season that we played Chelsea, if you recall it, and we were robbed in the last minute.
And
okay, so
away,
that is the season.
Come to mind, yeah.
That is the season. So you can now both please write down the player you think the other person your competitor, is going to name. Okay? Write it now down on a piece of paper in big letters because you'll need to show it to me. Now, if the other person says that name, you win. You're going to take it in turns. If the other player says a name and you think that the player they named didn't play in that season, you can challenge. If you're right, you win. If your challenge is wrong, you lose. Theo, you are taking on our defending champion after almost a walkover against Jon Narbett himself last week. Think of the tactics. Maybe we're unfair on Jon. We didn't give him a chance to have a think of the tactics. I would say probably don't think of the most obvious players at first.
It's probably the cleverest thing.
I think that would be the good tactics. Okay, Theo, are you ready to go first, please, on this?
Yes, I'm ready.
Let's play.
Matt Murphy.
Okay.
Matt.
I'm not going to challenge that. So this shirt always reminds me of a certain player. I'm going to go with Christophe Remy.
Theo.
Les Robinson.
Matt.
Joey Beauchamp.
I had a suspicion you might have written that one down. Dan's favourite, Nicky Banger.
Matt.
Paul Powell.
Theo.
I think that might be too early.
So are you challenging or what?
No, I'm not going to. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to regret that, I think. Chris Hackett.
Challenge. Way too early.
Let's have a look. Did Chris Hackett play
Two
in that
seasons
season?
too early, I reckon.
Chris Hackett did not play in that season. Matt, your unbeaten run continues.
Did Paul Powell?
Paul Powell did play that season.
Good thing I didn't.
Paul Powell played
Played quite a bit that season, didn't he?
43 games. So yeah, he did play. The listeners will agree with a terrific game.
I mean,
of the Jon
Dan,
Narbett.
as the game creator, that's how you wanted it to kind of
That's how I
work
wanted
out,
it.
wasn't it?
That's
Did
that's going to make
Did
some
it
terrific audio. So yes.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I'm going to have to take you on next week. Theo, you might have to be the referee next week. In fact,
Yeah, I can manage that.
excellent.
Just pick a season I know.
That's us nearly done. A couple of weeks away from football now. Maybe a chance to go and watch some rugby, or perhaps, Matt, a chance to unwind, of course, and practice Nutmeg, the nostalgic football management game. Maybe in a week or two, you might be ready yourself to replace Gary Pragmat.
Yeah, I'm not going to put myself forward for that.
In the unlikely event that any of our board are currently listening to this podcast, any messages for them?
I mean, I'm always very pro the manager in this instance, and maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I'm a bit too old school, but I'm always like back the manager. I'm like, you've let this guy spend all this money over the summer, bringing in players that we presume he wants to bring in. Surely just give him a chance. But then, I was the one who was absolutely raging when they let Des go. Dan, I've said it before, I just don't want to be one of those clubs who change managers every season and a half just because things aren't quite going right. I think, honestly, and I've said it a few times this season, we're not far away. Time to have the international break, take stock, get a few of those injured players back, hopefully Spencer maybe. Tough challenge, but let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Good idea. Right, back to Nutmeg for us. See you very soon, listeners.
Yeah, but just finally to say, we are loving doing this pod. We've really enjoyed it, Dan, haven't we? We've enjoyed also the lovely messages from listeners on X and on Instagram recently. You've got in touch to say you're really enjoying it too, and that's just really nice to hear, isn't it, Dan?
And on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok as well, Matt.
Yeah.
we forget.
Those are the ones you manage. The other ones are the ones that I manage. But listeners, listen, we want to hear more from you. If there's, I don't know, if there's a play you'd like us to track down, or if you think there's a fan with an incredible story and a real tale to tell, we want to know. Or if you have a hot take and want to rant a bit like Dan just did just then, it's totally fine. DM us on our socials, or indeed email us, youaremyoxford@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Lovely stuff. See you, Matt, in a week and a bit, maybe.
Enjoy. I'm off to watch rugby.
The big man with a big goal on the big occasion.